Is it working? Yep. Good evening, guys. I know the wait is over. I've been getting some really cool guesses in my DMs about what you guys think the camera is, and it really pushes me to produce more content. It really does make it more exciting. So thank you for those who keep asking. The day's here and the wait's over. I am so sorry for the wait. A lot of things are happening in my everyday life, some big things which we'll get into updates later, but let's get into this camera. I know you guys are excited. So I'm gonna go ahead and start this video with a quick slideshow of all the photos I've been taking recently with this camera. It's been a joy to use and makes me so happy to own this gear. So let's get into that slideshow and we'll talk after. Enjoy! You guys really enjoy those results. I freaking love every single one of those photos. I think this camera has pushed my editing to a whole nother level, and it's getting really professional. I really believe that my work is changing from like the amateur stage to that more professional stage. So it makes me really happy to own this thing, and some of you are just gonna be blown away by what this camera is. So I'm gonna give you guys a minute, just a minute, go back in the video for a little bit and put your guesses in the comments, because I really want to see what you guys thought it was, because I've been getting DMs that it's a Fujifilm or a Nikon. The Fuji's really interesting. The people that guess Fuji, that is a very interesting guess. And it's funny because if you guys don't know this, I'm not a big fan of Fuji. I'm not a big fan of their color science and how color renders with that camera. It's just too, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not as aggressive as I like it. If you look at my photography style, there's a lot of color in my photos, except when they're black and white, obviously. But with that being said, go ahead and leave your guesses. Okay, are you guys ready? Drum roll. Ta-da! Yes, sir. Say hello to another Ricoh GR3. Yes, the key word is another. If you guys have been on this channel for a while, you know I used to own a Ricoh GR3. And I know some of you are going, Josh, what the heck? You sold that camera and you bought it back? So let me finish before you blow up. This is not just the Ricoh GR3. This is the Ricoh GR3 X.
Say hi to the Ricoh GR3 X.
Shout out to Samuel. That's actually a pretty funny thing he started. If you guys don't know who Samuel Street Life is, he is a fantastic YouTube photographer. He does great content, very educational, very enjoyable, and very entertaining. He's also an ambassador for Ricoh, so he knows the ins and outs of this camera very well. I'm gonna go over 5 reasons why I got this camera. So let's get into it. Josh, why did you get this camera again? What is the difference between the GR3 and the GR3X? So I'm not gonna go on full specs. You know, there's plenty of videos where they compare the 3 to the 3X, and I highly recommend you guys watch Samuel Street Life, because again, he there's no one better that explains it than him, especially since he's an ambassador for him. All right, reason number 1, look how compact this body is. It literally fits in my pocket. It's just like having a cell phone or your wallet. It's the easiest thing to bring on the go, and because it's so small, you could be more ninja or quiet or sneaky when taking a photo, because you know, it's not everybody that likes their photo taken out in the streets, and you know, for good reason. But again, there's no rules against it. It is a public place and you can do whatever you want, and this is my art, but I can also understand the other side. But with that being said, again, like, this is so small, nobody will... Oop, little piece of dust right there. Sorry, that was bothering me. But yeah, nobody will know when you're taking a photo with this thing. It's so small, it's so low-key. You know, I did have the street edition of the Ricoh GR3, which was more of like a gray finish. I learned from a mistake and I just wanted a full blackout camera. It just looks way less low-key, and yeah, nobody will ever know I'm taking a photo of them. So yeah, how compact it is, how easy it is to take with me is reason number one. Reason number two, the focal length. So there's only like two things we're going to go over about the specs of this camera, and the first one, and being reason number two, is the focal length. So this is a 40mm equivalent lens. The GR3 was a 28mm lens. The Leica Q is a 28mm. You see where I'm getting at? It didn't make sense to me to keep the Ricoh GR3 shooting 20mm compact with a compact sensor when I have a Leica Q. It performs a better color science that I enjoy, meaning the colors are way more aggressive, it's more of the style I like, and it's a full frame sensor. It just didn't make sense to me. That's why I had to let it go. I just wasn't picking it up. This gives me a reason to pick it up now. So 40mm, I could happily say that it's my second favorite focal length. If you didn't know, 40mm is pretty close to the focal length of how our eyes see. So it's kind of like you're really there when you look at a photo. Now, with that being said though, it is a learning curve to switch from 20 to 40. You have way less real estate to use because it is a more closer depth of field. So when composing your shots, it is a learning curve, but you'll catch on to it. I went ahead and moved my light over to the side over here because I got tired of the light reflecting off my glasses, and I can tell that's a little annoying. But anyways, back into it. And before I move on, I did want to recap on the colors that this camera produces. And I said, because I don't want to self-contradict myself, that I wasn't enjoying the colors that this camera produces because it's a little mellow compared to the performance of the Leica Q. I overlooked that now because of the fact that I have more reason to shoot it because of the 40mm focal length. You know, I can always go back and post and bring those colors out that I want. But I've also discovered throughout my photography journey, there's a right tool for every occasion. And I'm going to show you a sample of two photos right here. One was shot with the Leica Q and another one was shot with my Nikon F2. Which one do you guys think fit the mood better? In my opinion, you know, it's a very classic photo. You have a very classic Minolta in this photo. You have a lava lamp and the rocket blower. I get more of a vintage style. And in this case, yeah, the Leica Q looks very bright, colorful, but with the Ultramax film running through that thing, it fits the mood better. So I've learned through my journey that there is a tool based on the occasion, where you are, how's our lighting conditions, and what mood are you trying to go for. However, this camera is versatile. I can make, I look at photographers like Joby Wavo Mic, where he's taking photos with his iPhone, and the results after post-production look just like his Leica photos, which is incredible. I wouldn't have guessed that it's an iPhone until he put at the bottom of the description of the photo that it's an iPhone picture. Like, that just blew me away. So I've been learning that I can get the same results with both cameras, but you know, the color science is a very small reason. The biggest thing was the focal length. I just wanted to clarify that so I'm not self-contradicting myself here. Alright guys, reason number 4, image stabilization, or for short we call it IBIS. Incredible on this camera. Okay, well, I make sure I have all these terminology correct and Man, I'm telling you, working as a contractor for the FAA, there is so many acronyms that the federal government uses, and it's just so hard to keep track of these things. So, pulled out the phone here. I'm not trying to use that excuse. I will. I'm obviously gonna probably remember this after this video and not forget what it is. But there's different types of image stabilization. The one that the Ricoh has is in-body image stabilization. Now, what does that mean? So, what IBIS allows you to do is the sensor itself in the camera is floating. Is way to say it. But essentially, it allows the sensor to move as you'll have your natural motion from your hand, because your hand actually shakes. So what the IBIS does is it works with that, so you get a nice, still, clean, sharp image. And that's where this kicks the Leica's butt. The Leica has something called OIS. Now what OIS is, it's stabilizing the image before it hits the sensor. So whatever you see through your EVF or the screen, that's the result you're gonna get. So IBIS is a more modern thing that a lot of smartphones use, and it's incredible. A lot of Sony cameras. I just used one today, the Sony Alpha 7 IV or A7 IV. Incredible IBIS. I mean, I had that thing set to 1/5 of a second, no motion blur whatsoever, unless my hand, which is not shaking. But I made sure I like held it up like this, like normal, like making sure I wasn't on any armrest or anything like that, and I was blown away. I mean, I might consider that camera for vlogging in the future, because the low light is incredible on that thing too. But anyways, besides the point. So this camera has more up-to-date functionality when it comes to IBIS. The Leica, it works, but it's not as good as this. And I'm gonna go ahead and show some sample photos, and it's the same kind of photos that you've seen already, where I took these at like 1/30th of a second or 1/20th of a second. Actually, let me pull up my iPad and we'll go through each of them individually. So I'm looking at these photos on my iPad, as you guys can see them in the corner over here. Now this first photo was taken at 1/30th of a second, and again, this was one of the photos where I didn't look through the camera. I was literally walking around, just tapped the screen because I knew my distance, and I got this result. And again, I'm blown away. Here's another one here. This was at 1/30th of a second, 1/30th of a second as well. And this guy's pretty famous. I just learned recently who he is. Eddie Maserati, I think his name was. Apparently this guy's like really well known in Disney Springs, and I didn't even know. Like, this guy, and I looked up his videos. He's literally famous for just going to dance parties at Disney Springs and like clapping and having a good time. So that's pretty cool that I found him by coincidence. Now in this photo, again, this is at 1/30th of a second, and again, this is another example. I didn't look through the camera, just tapped the screen, kept on going. And then this one that's darker, this is at 1/20th of a second. So yeah, darker situation, and look at the results, sharp results. And again, it's just incredible that I can go that slow of a shutter speed and not get any motion blur. And then I wanted to push it a little further, so I took this picture of the monorail, right? And this was at 1/30th of a second. And yeah, you can see a little bit of motion blur, but you have to understand the monorail was pulling into the station. It had to be going like what, 7 or 8 miles per hour crossing through. So it's pretty cool that it was still able to get this kind of shot even with the monorail going that fast. So yeah, to sum up the IBIS, it's definitely better than the Leica, 100 times better. It's very impressive. Now that doesn't mean my Leica is bad, but it's like what I said from the beginning. There's a tool for every environment, and in this case, the Ricoh wins. Just is what it is. Now, why am I raving about messing with shutter speed so much? Because and there's a simple answer to that. You have your exposure triangle, right? 3 things that deal with exposure: shutter speed, ISO, and aperture. Now, whenever I go out taking photos, I have a tendency to always mess with the shutter speed before touching the aperture or the ISO. two main reasons. When it comes to ISO, once you get past 800, you start to get more grain in your photos, and I'm just, or really, it's called noise. Grain is more in the film environment, but yeah, you tend to get more noise in your photos, and I'm not a big fan of digital noise. It looks way more organic and feels really good on film, but digital, I'm just not a fan. However, when I do take photos with this camera, I make sure to turn off any noise reduction settings off, because I do want the full details of what I'm getting, and I'd rather take it out in post. But with that being said, I try to avoid raising the ISO. I'm lucky to go past 800, and the same rule applies to my Leica. I never go past 800 ISO on my Leica, because it could get grainy real quick after that. Now, as far as aperture, we all know how aperture works if you are a photography head. The wider the aperture, the less that's in focus, because you're allowing more light to get in. And like, that's awesome if you're trying to get portraits of people, because you'll get that nice blurry background from bokeh. But I'm not trying to get that on the streets. I want to get the full details of the environment that's around the person. So I try to keep my aperture as narrow as I can, so I could get more detail. So that leaves me to mess around with shutter speed, which I know a lot of people that do that, and it's probably the best way. And just with the technology that's going on with IBIS or OIS or whatever, it doesn't matter, EIS, there's like 4 different things. But with the technology that goes into them, like, it's my personal way of getting the image that I want. Okay guys, now reason number 5. And it's kind of, and I like to go back to the whole thing of people guessing this camera was a Fuji. And you know, here I am raving about how I don't like how mellow the colors are on the Fuji. But reason number 5 is a positive film filter that this camera offers. So something very iconic to the Ricoh GRs, and it all started with the GR2, is a color positive filter. There's different ones. Let's not forget about the monochrome filter. That's a very good mention, because the monochrome filter is great on this camera, but I like it better on the Leica. But still good, just I prefer on the Leica. But with that being said, the Ricoh GR2 is where positive film started, to my understanding. I don't know if the first GR had it, but the more iconic one is the GR2, which again, Samuel Streetlife raves about that filter on his GR2, and he prefers it over the GR3, and honestly, I agree. And you know, reason number 5 is more of a hope, but it's still good, is I hope they bring back the color positive filter from the GR2 on firmware back to the GR3X or GR3, or maybe even the 4. Like, if the 4 comes out, I'm probably gonna sell this. I'm gonna be honest, I'll probably sell this and get the 4 if they bring back that filter. But yeah, it's a very iconic filter. And again, I did talk about earlier how I try to get the same colors as I get on my Leica Q and restore them back, but sometimes the positive filter just hits very well. I mean, here's this photo of Katrina here when we were at the M&M store, and you know, I didn't change that much colors with that photo. It's pretty base to what it is. So yeah, not everything has to be the same colors, even though I always push to have the same color palette. I know I'm self-contradicting myself a little bit, but you know, sometimes it's nice not to have that aggressive color and have something more mellow. But yeah, there you guys have it, the Ricoh GR3X. And I know some people are probably still wild at the end of this video at the fact that I went back to this thing, but come on, did you really think I was gonna get something else? The fact that some people thought I was gonna get a Fuji, ugh, are you crazy? But yeah, anyways guys, thank you for watching. And by the way, remember, all of these photos are on my Instagram. You can find all these images on Instagram. So please, if you guys did like these photos and you want a more detailed look at them, and you want to show some love and leave a like, go ahead and head to my Instagram @shotsbydalamaj. I will really appreciate it. And you know, you can always DM me. I'm very active on there, and I try to DM people back, and you'd be surprised. I learn a lot from you guys. A lot of my followers, you know, you're giving me some really good advice, and I am greatly appreciative about it. But with that being said, I did want to talk about one more thing, and you know, you'll see by the title, it was a life update. So YouTube videos might be going down in frequency. I mean, I'm already like not posting at a non-consistent rate as is, but it might get even slower because things have been happening in life. I finally got my class date to the FAA. Yes, guys, we're here. It's been a journey, man. I mean, this was like 3 to 4 years in the making, and literally a year later, after I took the test around this time, yeah, in Oklahoma. So here we are a year later, I finally got a class date. So with that being said, I'm gonna be studying my butt off, and you know, basics is a month long, and then I go to the academy for 2 months. So there might be a little bit of an absence while posting, but I'll try my best to post pictures. But as far as YouTube videos, it might be more scarce than post. Like, posting will be fine because I can just go on social media, but I can't promise I'll be on social media too, because I am debating to like just shut off my social media when I get to the academy, so I don't have distractions. Because if you don't know, this is a one or done. If I fail this thing, I gotta find a different career to do for the rest of my life, and I'm not about to do that. Okay, I invested too much, and I enjoy what I do so much, and I hope you guys do understand that. I know a lot of you will. But with that being said, thank you so much for watching. I'm so glad that I finally got to expose this camera to you guys. Let me know what you guys think. Did you guys know? Did you not know? Are you upset it wasn't a Fuji? I'm not. But anyways, guys, thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, share. The like does help out a lot. You know how much I feel about the likes, and it'll put a smile on my face. Alright, guys, I'll see you in the next one. See ya.